Welcome to Intel on AI, the podcast that connects leaders with listeners. My name is Heather McGuigan, and I am your host. Today's guest is Neha Bajwa. Neha currently serves as Vice President of Product Marketing at Neo4j. Her role involves leading a dynamic team to design and implement integrated marketing plans that align with the customer journey, enabling business growth and market success. Leveraging expertise in demand generation and sales enablement, she helps position Neo4j's cutting edge solutions to meet evolving customer needs. Neha, welcome to Intel on AI.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great. Now, we have a grand series of questions, so I'm going to dive right in if you're ready.
Yes, absolutely.
So, as VP of Product Marketing at Neo4j, you sit at the intersection of technology, storytelling, and customer insight. How do you shape the narrative around graph technology for AI for different audiences?
It really starts by just understanding the audience or the users, right? And what their problem statements are, what are they really feeling, what are their challenges, and then shaping the narrative to meet those challenges and the problem statements. So for us at Neo4j, our primary audience is a developer. And this is a fantastic time to be a developer. There is so much innovation going on, and application modernization or application development is getting redefined as we speak, right? And Neo4j and graphs are right at the center of it. So it's about the problems, the challenges, the innovation, and then crafting the story that meets that narrative.
How exciting to be right in it.
That's right.
You're like, this is it. It's happening. It's going. And we are center for this evolution. Now, Neo4j often emphasizes uncovering hidden patterns in connected data. Can you walk me through a real world business challenge where this capability made a measurable difference?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Let's think about London. Like when we think about London, it is, some of us have been there, some of us know about it. The just transportation at London. It is very complex. And there are about 9 million residents of London. There are about 20 million annual visitors that visit London, right? And they're using the roads, the buses, the underground network to get to places. Transport of London it's their mission to make sure that people get where they need to go safely, on time, and easily. And graphs are really powering that. So what we've been able to do is work with the Transport of London. They have a digital twin where they are replicating their entire network as a graph, and they're able to anticipate blockages, where the unplanned blockages are going to be, and route traffic and reroute traffic in real time to reduce congestion by 10%. And it all happens in the background. People don't know about it, but you are being rerouted, or you're being told to, like, when unplanned things happen and traffic accidents happen, things get rerouted, and all is happening because of the power of graph. That's one example. I'll give you another example, a little bit more closer to home. Intuit. I don't know if you've used Intuit. It's a financial organization, has about 100 million customers, right? And it is extremely important for Intuit to make sure that their network is protected. So they use Graph to be able to detect all of the network security and to be able to respond fast when something sort of unseemingly happens. They were used to do it in days, and now they do it in under 4 minutes. They're able to isolate a computer, keep it, like, understand the blast radius of the problem statement for of that computer or the network, and really isolate it in under 4 minutes. So that's Intuit. So you have two different examples, but really that talks about the power of graph.
Holy moly. Feel free to contact the TTC in Toronto, which is the transit system. They could use your help. Now, GraphRAG is generating a lot of interest lately. From a product marketing lens, what makes it stand out from more traditional Gen AI implementations?
Yeah, it's a really good question. The way we think about it, GraphRAG, that's what we call it, the RAG or GraphRAG, really essential to Gen AI because it allows or enables organizations to contextualize the LLMs, the Gen AI models. It allows them to contextualize the models by feeding all of the organizational's data and makes it and keeps it accurate, explainable, and transparent. Right? That's like the beauty of it. Now, the thing is, if I take a step back, what is all of this? What I'm talking about? Really, Gen AI requires data, right? If you think about it, what does Gen AI require? It requires data. It is trained on volumes and volumes of internet data, right? Publicly available data. Now, for an organization, they generally don't want to use an off the shelf LLM because it is not trained on the organizational's data. It is trained on the public data. And so, what you have to do is you have to ground it. You have to sort of give it organizational data to be more accurate, so to speak. The other thing what Gen AI is very good at is generating content. It is actually a generational AI. It's generating AI. It generates, so it hallucinates. It is very good statistically to say, oh, if this is a word, what's the next word that comes around? And it can write stories for you. It's basically hallucinating. So you sort of need to ground that data by giving it the organizational data. And that's what GraphRAG does. It grounds the data, it provides the organizational's proprietary data to be able to really make that LLM much more smarter and much more personalized and contextual for the organization.
Now, moving from Gen AI to Agentic AI, where there has been a lot of buzz, how systems select and use tools.
Yeah.
What is a standout use case where Neo4j has enabled something powerful in the Agentic AI space?
I'll just give you an example. Klarna has been in the news quite a bit, and I don't know if your audience has heard about Klarna, but it's a really good use case where they started off with Kiki, which is their customer service application, and they were using Salesforce customer service application, and they just wanted to, like in the early days, the whole buzz was you give more data to an LLM. So, like I said, get the organizational data, and that's what they started off with, giving more data to their Kiki, customer service app. What they actually realized is a lot of the data is sitting in different places. It's sitting in different silos. Sitting in different applications, and so they went around recreating their application by putting a graph first, right? So they created a knowledge graph on top of all of the data. And then they actually added agents. And so Cursor AI, they added the agentic AI, which is orchestrating all of the where the data is and how the data gets, used. So it's a combination. And that's a really powerful example of where they ended up is reducing 1,200 custom apps. They eliminated 1,200 apps by just creating a new application, which is we call the modern intelligent app, which is on top of this knowledge graph and AI, right? Agentic AI. So this is a really good example of what Satya talks about quite a bit, right? That this new modern AI app is essentially an agent, a Kubernetes container, and a database. In our world, we say it's a knowledge graph. There's a graph database because then you don't have to replace your database. You create a graph layer on top of your existing data, and you use agents to orchestrate where the data gets pulled from.
Man, now I'm here to provide some snaps and claps. Nail4j recently crossed the 200 million revenue mark.
Yes,
Come
that's
on.
very
It's
exciting.
a milestone.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what is resonating most with the market right now?
It's knowledge graph in the Gen AI world, right? It allows businesses to harness all of the organizational data. This Klarna example is a really good example. Because what customers, particularly in the AI world, are struggling with is, how do I feed all this data? I have a lot of data. I don't want to move the data. I want to be able to feed this data to an LLM, and so that it is accurate, it is contextual, and the easiest way to do that is by putting a knowledge graph on it. It put a knowledge graph, creates that your it breaks the silos down, improves the speed at which you can implement AI, and it sort of makes your data ready for AI, right? So that AI ready data is essentially that knowledge graph. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Economy and efficiency, which are two of my favorite words,
That's
I
it.
think.
Yes.
The third one is cake, but totally separate. Really different thing.
Yeah.
But yes, economy, yeah,
And
is
efficiency.
absolutely my favorite thing. Now, 84% of Fortune 100 companies use Neo4j. Again,
Yeah.
class is nice. In your work, what are you seeing these leading companies do right when it comes to embracing connected data and AI?
Yeah, it's investing in that data strategy. It's that it comes down to the fundamentals. Invest in data strategy that is first and foremost built for connected data, and which means you are investing in a knowledge graph. You're sort of investing in metadata and principles of metadata, but now you're expanding metadata to include relationships and context, which comes by building a knowledge graph. And what we are finding, it's been fascinating the last 2 years. It's like, really, we've been talking about it for a while, but in the last 2 years, the CDOs, the chief data officers, are starting to really pay attention and say, oh, I need a knowledge graph, right? And how do I really just get this metadata layer, which is more than metadata? It's not just the data about the data, but it also includes the relationships and it includes the context. And that becomes an agile, adaptive layer that is meeting the business needs without creating a lot of um, new work, so to speak.
Now, you've led product marketing strategies for highly technical products. How do you translate complex capabilities like graph analytics into messaging that connects with both technical and business decision makers?
You know, it for me, it comes down to the principle of meeting people where they are. And so for technical audiences, it's usually about the how. Like, how does it work, and architectures and performance benchmarks, and the basically under the hood. And then for business users, it's about why it matters, right? It's about faster. We talked about efficiency. It's about improving fraud detection or reducing bottlenecks. It's about, how do I get to accurate responses? And so it's the why becomes more important. And the magic is when you can combine them both, right? Why? Because particularly with the database, that which is where I'm focused on, it, you have to be able to connect the technical audience with the decision makers. You have to be able to show value both ways. So when you can connect those, that's when real, like, magic really happens.
And that's the key to fashion, to design, to art, to music, to food. I want the technicality and why it matters.
Yes,
That's when those two come together, it is always magic.
totally, totally, totally.
Yeah. Now, graph technology can sound abstract to newer audiences. How do you and your team avoid jargon,
Yeah.
complicated terms, expansive things, something that looks like the back of a food box with a lot of words that I don't understand? So, how do you avoid jargon while still educating the market on advanced ideas like GraphRAG or vector search?
We just talked about how magic happens when you bring and meet people where they are. I would add to that sentence, meeting people where they are in simple language, right? In simple language. And this is one of my mantra when I speak to my teams. I'm like, let's not use marketing language. Let's not use jargons, just simple language where uh, people understand it. You don't have to translate it in their language, right? And so, for example, for us, it is about, Not about the it is about the graph database, but it's what can graph database do for them, right? How is it simplifying their lives? What problems is it really helping solve? So you and I can understand things like, oh, I like you order something on the internet or use Amazon to order, and that delivery did not come, or it's going to get delayed by 4 days, or you're traveling to London and you are happening you're taking this underground and suddenly you got rerouted, right? That's what we are solving. But underlying, you're using a graph database that it just happens to be. Uh, so you have to sort of break it down and sort of say, what problems are we trying to solve? Um, like you and I, Heather, we can sort of talk about it. And I'm sure if we sat down and said, how are you and I connected? We can probably find that there's a 6 degree of separation. You know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and I. That's a graph, right? It's really about connecting the dot between Neha and Heather and very quickly linking it out and saying, oh, you just created a graph, 6 degrees of separation. That's a graph.
Amazing. Um, what are some of the biggest shifts you've seen in how executive teams talk about AI in the last year? And how is that changing your approach to messaging?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We've been in the thick of it for the last, I'll say, 18 months. The shift has really been from curiosity to urgency. 2 years ago, it was all about curiosity. What can I do? There's a lot of experimentation going on, right? Now, at least in the mainstream organizations, it's about ROI. It's about how fast can you put it into production? What is the value? What is the cost savings going to be? So there's an urgency to show ROI. On the other hand, we also have seen the shift. People no longer asking what is AI. It's now becoming, how do I make this like my data AI ready? In fact, this year, when we attend industry conferences and we go around, talking, we don't have to explain what is graph, what is AI, what is Gen AI. We What is knowledge graph? We don't have to explain that. People are coming and saying, how do I have all this data? How do I make it really AI ready so that I can show ROI really fast? Because my board is asking me to get it into production like yesterday, right? Though that's the big shifts that is happening. So then for us, from a messaging standpoint, we go back to the basics. We go back to our value proposition of how and staying consistent with our value prop and basically saying, let's show you how to do it versus what it is, right? We shift in our positioning as well.
Now, with so much curiosity and so much in demand comes the hype. So, what is your strategy for distinguishing Neo4j's story without just sort of riding a wave of a lot of fancy buzzwords?
Yeah, yeah. And this is where I think we are lucky to be in Neo4j because we were the category creators. Like we were doing AI or creating knowledge graphs like for long before AI was here. In fact, I was talking to a customer who is going through this evolution, and they actually implemented Neo4j as a knowledge graph for their AI, for their customer service app a couple of years ago, before AI, right? Uh, and so for us, it is really, we have to stay consistent and not get distracted by the new buzzword that is out there or what somebody else is doing. We have to stay consistent on our differentiated value proposition, which is about being that the uh, uh, being the being able to connect the dots, being able to provide accurate explainable AI much faster, be not having to break down the data silos, right? That value prop stays consistent, and consistently saying it, evolving it a little bit as the market evolves, but not changing it. So that's critical for us.
Now, if you had to explain Neo4j's product value using an analogy, a metaphor, a movie reference, who knows what, something that our everyday listener can relate to, what would you pick?
It's a really good question. I get asked that a lot, particularly from my relatives who are like, "Who do you work for now?" Um, Now, I usually like to say it in a way like I'll give you an example. The biggest predictor of behavior is whom you associated or connect with. Have you heard this phrase, right? Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
Yes.
That essentially is the biggest predictor, right? It's like you're able to connect through association. So there's a really good study that sort of says a person, whether they will smoke cigarette or not, that prediction whether somebody will be a smoker, cigarette smoker, is based on whom they hang out with and 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 whom they associate with. It's not about your health or your exercise, or it's really about whom you're associating with. That network of whom are you associating with and their determination is a graph, right? You're just building a network, a graph of your friends and family or your people whom you associate with. What relationship do they have with you? That can predict whether you're going to smoke or not. That can predict your behavior. That in itself, that right there is a graph.
Very cool. Looking ahead to 2030, which, man, that used to feel so far.
Yeah,
That number used to feel so completely foreign. Now you're like, that's basically tomorrow.
it is.
Um, Looking ahead to 2030, what is the aspiration for Neo4j's role in the Gen AI and connected data landscape from a product marketing point of view?
I think our ambition and our aspiration is that we are the graph engine that powers Gen AI and Agentic AI or any other AI transformation that's going to happen, right? But Neo4j brings graphs to the data and breaks down silos, provides accurate, contextual, transparent responses to organizations, right? And really powers AI. That's our aspiration.
Amazing. We have come to the end of our podcast. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, sometime we can sit down with a piece of cake and figure out our graph together. Because I think you're right. There's got to be some way that I know you, and if I don't, I want to. So, sometime I'll come to London
Yes,
and we'll go have a piece of cake.
totally.
Until then, thank you so much for being on a show. This was Intel on AI with Neha Bajwa. My name is Heather. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Bye, everyone.
Visit intel.com/AI to learn more.